You're doing nothing in particular, washing a dish, waiting for a traffic light to change, and then, with no warning at all, your brain reaches into the past and hands you a memory from 10 years ago. Something you said, something you did, a moment no one else on earth still remembers, and your whole body recoils. Maybe you wince. Maybe you mutter something out loud just to drown it out. The memory has already done its work, and for a few seconds you are back there, mortified, as if it happened this morning. It feels like a glitch, a cruel little malfunction in a mind that should have better things to do. But it isn't a glitch at all. What just happened is one of the most sophisticated things your brain is capable of. And once you understand why it does this, that wince starts to mean something completely different. Start with the strangest part. Why now? You weren't thinking about anything important. You were idle. And that is exactly the point. For a long time, scientists assumed that when you stopped focusing on a task, your brain quieted down with you. Then a neuroscientist named Raichle noticed something odd. The moment people stopped concentrating, a particular set of brain regions didn't go quiet at all. It lit up. He called it the default mode network, and it is what your brain runs when it has nothing else to do. And what does it do? It turns inward. It wanders through your relationships, your standing, your past. It rehearses who you are. So the dishwater moment isn't random. The instant your attention had nowhere else to go, your mind did what it always does. In the quiet, it went looking through the story of you. You have probably noticed when it strikes hardest. In the shower, on a long drive, in the dark, just before sleep, when the day's noise finally drops away. These are the moments your attention lets go of the world, and that inward network steps forward to do its restless work. It is not choosing to torment you. It is simply free at last to wander, and the places it wanders are rarely neutral. But that raises a harder question. Out of every memory you own, why does it reach for that one? Here is where it gets remarkable. A British psychologist named Martin Conway spent years studying how autobiographical memory works, the memory of your own life, and he found that these memories aren't stored at random like files dropped in a drawer. They are organized around your sense of self. The memories your brain keeps closest are the ones tied to who you believe you are and how you think you appear to others. Conway gave the most powerful of them their own name. He called them self-defining memories, the handful of scenes your mind treats as load-bearing for your identity. Most are not the proud ones. They are the moments of exposure, the times the gap between how you wanted to be seen and how you actually came across became suddenly, painfully visible. Your brain keeps those close on purpose. They are the reference points it uses to steer you away from the same exposure again. Think about what that means. The memory feels like an attack, but from your brain's point of view, it is doing maintenance. It is replaying a moment that once threatened how you were seen, so that you never let it happen the same way twice. So why does a maintenance reminder hurt this much? This is the part most people never learn. In 2003, a researcher named Naomi Eisenberger ran a now famous experiment. She had people play a simple online ball-tossing game while their brains were scanned, and partway through, the other players quietly stopped throwing them the ball. They were being left out in the smallest, most harmless way imaginable, and yet the scan showed something striking. A region of the brain that registers physical pain became active when they felt socially excluded. Let that settle. To your brain, being rejected, embarrassed, or left out is not merely unpleasant. It is processed through some of the same machinery as a burn or a bruise. Social pain is real pain. It runs on overlapping wiring. For most of human history, that wiring kept you alive. You evolved inside small groups where being cast out could mean death, so your brain learned to treat any threat to your belonging as an emergency. A cringe memory is that ancient alarm firing 10 years too late in a kitchen over a dish. There is even a whole family of feelings built for exactly this job. Psychologists call them the self-conscious emotions, and a researcher named Tangney spent her career mapping them: embarrassment, guilt, shame. Unlike fear or anger, which point at the outside world, these emotions point inward, at the self being watched. They are your social thermostat. They flare when you sense you have fallen out of step with the people around you, and they exist because, for a deeply social animal, staying in step was everything. And there is one more reason these moments stick, while 1,000 pleasant ones fade. Psychologists call it the negativity bias, and the researcher Roy Baumeister summed it up in 4 words that are hard to forget. Bad is stronger than good. A single humiliation outweighs a dozen ordinary kindnesses, because for your ancestors, missing a threat was far more costly than missing a reward. Your mind is not trying to torture you. It is running very old software, tuned for danger rather than for peace. And notice what your memory quietly leaves out: a timestamp. When that scene replays, it does not arrive labeled 10 years ago. The feeling comes back raw and undated, as vivid as the day it happened, because the emotional charge on a memory does not fade just because the calendar moved on. Your rational mind knows it was long ago and no longer matters, but the part of you that feels it never got the message. That is why a single decade-old moment can still make a steady, grown adult flinch at a kitchen sink. So now you understand the machinery. The quiet moment opens the door. The self-memory system reaches for the scene that once threatened your image. The social pain circuit makes it sting like a fresh wound, and the negativity bias keeps it sharper than almost anything good that ever happened to you. But here comes the twist that changes everything. The whole experience rests on a hidden assumption. The assumption is that other people noticed, that they cared, and that they still remember. And that assumption is almost always wrong. A psychologist named Thomas Gilovich proved this with one of the most quietly comforting experiments in all of psychology. He had a student walk into a room full of people while wearing an embarrassing t-shirt, then asked the student afterward to guess how many people had noticed. When Gilovich tallied the results, the people wearing the shirt had guessed that roughly twice as many onlookers noticed it as actually had. He called it the spotlight effect. You feel like you are standing under a bright spotlight, with everyone watching and judging, but everyone else is standing under their own spotlight, worrying about their own shirt, replaying their own kitchen sink memory. The person you are still cringing about, they almost certainly forgot it the same week. They were too busy starring in their own private film to remember a bit part in yours. And there is something even deeper, hiding inside the cringe. Ask yourself why that old memory feels so excruciating now. It is because the person who did that thing is not quite you anymore. You are wincing across a distance. From here, you can see exactly what you should have said, how you should have stood, what you didn't yet understand. That clarity is not weakness, it is evidence. To feel embarrassed by your past self, you have to have grown past them. The cringe is the gap between who you were and who you have become, and you only feel it because the gap is real. A person who hadn't changed at all would feel nothing. Your wince is the quiet proof of your own growth mistaken for shame. Picture the specific scene that haunts you most, the thing you said to impress someone, the joke that landed wrong, the moment you tried too hard and everyone could tell. The only reason it still stings is that you would never do it that way now. You have better instincts now, more steadiness, a clearer read on people. The younger version of you in that memory didn't have any of that yet. You are not looking at a failure, you are looking at an early draft of yourself, and the cringe is simply how it feels to notice how much you have since rewritten. There is a kinder way to meet these moments, and it has been studied too. A psychologist named Kristin Neff researches something called self-compassion, which is simply the practice of treating yourself the way you would treat a good friend in the same situation. When the memory arrives, you don't have to argue with it or sink into it. You can do something quieter. You can notice it, name it for what it is, an old alarm in a safe room, and offer your past self the same understanding you would offer anyone who was once young, learning, and doing their best with what they knew. That isn't letting yourself off the hook, it is accuracy. One more thing. Gently. For most people, these memories arrive, sting and pass, and that is completely normal. But if you find your mind replaying painful moments constantly, in a loop you can't step out of, or the feeling tips into something heavier that follows you through your days, that is worth taking seriously, and talking it through with a professional or someone you trust can genuinely help. This is general understanding, not a diagnosis, and there is no shame in needing support to find the off switch. But for the ordinary, everyday cringe, the kind that ambushes you at the traffic light, you can hold it differently now, because you know what it is. It is not a verdict on your character, it is your mind, in a quiet moment, opening the file marked important, replaying a scene that once threatened your place among people, firing an ancient alarm through a circuit built for survival. It is loud because bad is stronger than good. And it is almost entirely private, witnessed by no one but you, about a person who no longer exists in quite the same form. So the next time you are doing nothing in particular, washing a dish, waiting for a light to change, and your brain reaches into the past and hands you that memory from 10 years ago, you don't have to recoil. You can let it arrive. You can even, strangely, be grateful for it, because that wince you feel is not the past reaching forward to shame you. It is the distance you have traveled, finally letting you feel how far you have come.